welcome back. This is video number 4 of the 10-minute video series provided by Ultimate Access. This one's looking at the Thomas Fine T's operational case study exam for CIMA in August 2018. My name is Sandy Hood, and today we look at ABC. Could ABC be appropriate for Thomas Fine T's? Now, ABC features within the P1 syllabus in the cost accounting system section. Here we look at discuss costing methods and their results, and compare and contrast activity-based costing with traditional marginal and absorption costing methods. Now, your background knowledge from P1 means that you know about ABC. It's seen as a more accurate way to charge overhead into product cost than using absorption costing. Activity-based costing includes all the overhead costs incurred, not just the production overheads. And overheads are accumulated into cost pools, and then they're charged out on the basis of how many cost drivers are needed in a particular activity being carried out. So this is a theoretical background that comes from the idea of ABC. So within ABC we have the cost driver. These are the events that cause the consumption of overhead resources. And we have the cost pool, which is basically a bucket where we accumulate costs related to a particular activity, and we're able to measure and accumulate them in this particular location. Now, there are 4 different criteria which are absolutely critical to whether or not ABC is useful in a particular scenario. So we're going to look at those 4, and we're going to think about them in the context of Thomas Fine T's. And this would be the way that I would lay out an exam question should our examiner choose to test is ABC appropriate for Thomas Fine T's. I would take each of these 4 areas and I would use them as a heading, and then I would write a series of paragraphs under each of these headings in order to earn my marks. This is something that I would think would fall into that sort of half a 45-minute section type of situation. So we're looking to try to get between 8 and 12 marks on this topic, and therefore be able to pass this task within one of the sections. So let's take the first of these requirements. ABC is useful where a diverse product range is being produced and items are produced in small batches. So you think back to your studies at P1 and you remember how when you were comparing absorption costing with ABC, you were able to recognise that under certain circumstances, really small batch production and diverse product ranges really didn't suit the absorption costing approach. ABC was much more useful. Second one, ABC is useful in environments where the method of producing each product is very different. So you're looking at different ways of producing the various products that you have within the portfolio that you produce. And if you are in a scenario where you're producing lots of different types of products, they could be electrical products, they could be one of a number of things, but where the method of production is different from one to the other, then it means that a sort of sledgehammer type of method of absorbing overheads, as we do with absorption costing, really doesn't give us a very accurate idea of the individual cost of a product. So ABC is more appropriate in those scenarios. Number 3 is ABC is useful in environments where overhead costs are high in comparison to direct costs, for example, where products require a lot of research and development. So you then think about those sort of scenarios where it's predominantly overhead. There's very little cost is in the material or in the direct labour. It's nearly all in the overhead. These are scenarios where you're using a lot of CAD and CAM, the computer-aided design to design the products, and CAM, computer-aided manufacturing, to produce the products. These tend to suit the ABC scenario. And the fourth one, where costs are driven by things such as the complexity of the product or by the level of customization, the extent to which we modify the product for the specific requirements of an individual customer, rather than products that are produced where the cost is driven by the volume being produced. So in those situations, ABC is more useful. So now let's look at what goes on at Thomas Fine Teas. Do we have a diverse product range that we are producing, and are we producing items in small batches? Well, no, we don't have a diverse product range. We have a limited amount of different types of tea bags, very, very similar products, and these products tend to be produced in very large batches. The different method of producing each product. These products are produced almost using the same approach each time. The production line is cleaned up so that they can go from everyday tea bags to producing strong tea bags, from strong tea bags to produce classic tea bags. But the method of production doesn't change. So we're dealing with very similar methods of producing our different types of tea bags. Number 3, overhead costs are high in comparison to direct costs. And our products require a lot of research and development. So you think about that. The overhead costs are relatively high, but they're not very high. When you start to look at the breakdown of the cost that's provided for us in the pre-scene, you can see that the largest cost is the tea itself. So the direct material is the highest part of the overall cost of the tea bag manufacture. Now there's a little bit of blend for every batch, so that when we deal with the idea of development for a batch, then we do see that there is some overhead that's created because each batch is using a different combination of tea leaves. So we would say that the direct materials are the highest part of the cost, but that we do have a new blend per batch. And finally, costs are driven by things such as the complexity of the product or the level of customization. Well, no. Our costs are really driven by the volume of tea bags we produce. So the tea bag production is not really affected at all by the different blends that we might have from one week to the next. So in this respect, when we look at ABC for Thomas Fine Teas, we get a lot of no's. As far as the first conditions are concerned, no and no. The second condition is a no. The third one gets a no and a yes. The fourth one gets a no. So we can work through and we can demonstrate to the marker that we have thoroughly analysed the appropriateness of ABC for Thomas Fine Teas, and based on the information in the pre-scene, we've been able to identify that ABC would not be appropriate in this particular scenario. Now, another aspect of ABC, and this features within the P2 syllabus, but only today, I was working with a group of students and we were looking at some of the Pearson VUE style of questions. I saw the different levels appear within that particular area that we were looking at. So I know that they feel entitled to test this at P1 level. So you can have the unit level cost pools, you can have batch level cost pools, you can have product sustaining cost pools, and you can have facility cost pools. And these are the 4 different levels that are appropriate to ABC. So I looked at this and I've come up with some ideas to try and help you to understand the levels. So in the event, I'm sure we would be recommending against using ABC, but in the event that they were to use ABC, then these would be the levels and these would be some of the examples of costs that they would incur at each level. So at the unit level, we're looking at tea leaves, we're looking at tea bag paper, we're looking at the bag production labour, we're looking at the production overheads that we incur at that level of producing the tea bags. But when we go to the batch level, then those overheads that we incur establishing the blend, they are at that batch level. They are a higher level of cost pool. Another one would be the cost of bringing the materials into production. Batch level ABC area. Then we look at the product sustaining. This is how we maintain our position within the market. So any researching of packaging, anything like that, that would then be maintaining our position or even trying to develop our position and maybe take market share away from rivals. So that would be a product sustaining level area where we could have some cost pools. And then at the facility level, this is where the tea bags are manufactured. So it would be things like the factory rent, factory insurance. Maybe if we've got factory managers and so on, then all of those would be included within a facility level aspect of ABC. So, as you prepare for this exam, revise ABC, try and think of possible scenarios where you can apply your knowledge, then practice planning and then writing up your answers. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you for the next introductory recording. Goodbye.